Prepare yourselves.
Yeah. Can you chat me up a bit about hurting people? When did you discover that was something you took pleasure from? When I finished performing in Athens, like people literally came up to us on the stage and were like, yeah! Like there was so much excitement.
I bet that was such a buzz.
Yeah, people couldn't wait to get us a drink. And
whatever it is, I try and show a lot of love, and I think that's why I've had a lot of love, which is why I have been able to reach so many people and why I have so many amazing people in my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Describe that noise and what it contains.
I think you already know what's in the pipeline, but I will talk about it. Where we can just use it for, anti-escalation, heavy rubber play, encasement, extended confinement, mind fuckery.
Yeah.
Hello everybody. My goodness me, what an absolute nightmare we've had. So, we have been warring with YouTube, who will not allow us on any of our accounts to go live. And we are also having the same issue with Instagram. But never mind. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm very sorry that you can't see the video. But as you can imagine, I am dressed in full leather. I've got a beautiful leather bralette on and some gloves and some thigh-high boots and a beautiful skirt, and none of you can see me. What a shame. It seems the social media gods are against us today, but fear not, we are warriors and we shall battle on.
That brings us on to a good question, actually, which is, do you find it hard maintaining a presence on social media when what you do is sometimes frowned upon?
Yes, I do find it very difficult, actually. The thing is, I think that what I create is art. I think it's very beautiful. I think it's very subjective. I think that for the masses, it's really helpful, and I actually bring a lot of pleasure to a lot of people. However, generally speaking, there's an ignorance surrounding this industry, which means that we are marginalised, and we're not accepted and we're not recognised for the good work we do. And instead, trying to post a beautiful picture is unacceptable, but a 14-year-old posting illicit pictures of herself is absolutely fine. Yeah. And somebody doing hardcore anal fucking with a massive cock is okay, but I can't do a water sports video. I can't do a video where all 4 limbs are bound. I can't do a strap-on.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah, there's also an immeasurable number of, say, music videos which use BDSM imagery, so like strutting around in outfits similar to what you're wearing now, and that's considered acceptable because it's sort of using the imagery of it, even people parading around with whips and so on. But when you actually explore it in a serious way, in a way where we do this, we take it seriously, we're ethical about it, we want to talk about it, that is frowned upon quite a lot, I find.
Absolutely. I think it's a real challenge to make people see that the work of a pro-dom or the work of a pro-kinkster or an amateur kinkster is art, more so than somebody jiggling their backside, frankly. And how do you find it when you're trying to post on your social media?
Oh, I find it really disheartening. So I've been kicked off of numerous platforms. TikTok had a big one about... I was even on there as a paid creator on TikTok over lockdown. And it's very frustrating because it's very hard getting platforms to tell you where the line is.
Yeah.
And it's like they want to play around, they want people to be sexy, and they want things to be controversial, but they're not willing to say, okay, that's too far. And that's the frustrating thing, is because we all kind of, to a certain extent, rely on social media these days. But that social media doesn't hold itself up to a standard of... I don't think it holds itself up to a high enough standard.
Yeah, I agree. I had a similar experience with TikTok myself, where I was posting what I thought were some really quite beautiful videos, and there are great editing features on there. but then they closed me down for a latex video, and they just shut me down. After which I've been very disheartened, and I haven't really been putting anything at all on TikTok because I'm living in constant fear that my hard work and efforts will be immediately cut.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the funny thing is that I think you were probably kicked off for the same reason I was, which is that our material contains what they call fetish content. And when you know about fetishes, you know how ridiculous a statement that is, because the only way of banning fetish-based content would be to work out what people's fetishes are and stop them from accessing things they find enjoyable. So we call like common fetishes, quote unquote, things like latex, things like leather. But as we know, people have fetishes about all sorts of things. It could be the way people do their hair, it could be fragrances, it could be all sorts of sensations, for example, things like velvet, things which are considered to be like an everyday normal fabric. Fetishes are so varied that trying to ban a fetish from a platform is practically impossible.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, when we look at things like the crossover with, have you come across much? I mean, you may have even done some ASMR.
I love ASMR.
Yeah.
I'm looking into getting a better microphone actually because, I personally enjoy it. My house slave Chloe absolutely swears by it and uses it to get to sleep every evening. I'm really into it actually, and I think that I have a good voice for it.
Oh, I agree, yeah.
But also kind of changing the subject slightly, I'm wanting to do a podcast with one of my friends. Now, podcasts, you can get away with absolute murder.
Yeah.
You can say things that are a lot more illicit and a lot naughtier than what you can on video, even if the video is completely suitable for work.
Yeah. Similarly with writing a book. Because I run the YouTube channel Bondage Tuition. I'm a full-time shibari rigger, and I review bondage books sometimes. And I took a book which is sold on Amazon and did a review of it. So I just showed what was inside the book, nothing particularly explicit, and posted the review back on Amazon. And Amazon stopped me from posting the review because they said the review was too explicit, and it was a review of a product they sell. How does that work?
You tell me.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating. So let's talk about something a little bit more fun now we've got out our woes.
Yeah. So on a light note, we've been getting people sending questions in. I believe are both quite new to this Twitter chat thing, so I'm not sure if people can ask questions on there or if whatever. But if you can, please try and we'll see. But I've got some here for you anyway. So you've spoken a fair bit about your favourite television shows. Are there any things that you enjoy watching that are a bit more of a guilty pleasure?
That is a good question. Guilty pleasures.
Because if you know what I'm saying, a lot of your hobbies and interests seem quite highbrow. Do
they?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
You seem like more refined than myself.
I don't think that's true. I really like boxing. I like punching people in the face. I like to be punched. I like to be on a netball court. And when I'm at home, I'm quite predictable. So the sort of things that I like to watch are very predictable. So Vikings right up my street. Game of Thrones right up my street. A guilty pleasure. I love Shameless. Shameless is like one of my favourite things in the world. I watch that when I need to just relax. I also like watching a bit of sport.
Yeah.
I don't know about guilty pleasures really. I'm not very much of a Love Island kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that is a little bit lowbrow for me, dare I say it.
Have you ever really cracked onto a soap where you were in like a big EastEnders fan or something like that?
No. I mean, when I was really young, my mum used to watch like Coronation Street and stuff. But no, absolutely not.
Have you got like an iron in the fire of who the next James Bond's going to be now?
Oh, I hope it's Idris Elba.
Really?
I love Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I just want to double check this mic is still on. I think I'm... Oh. It says end, so I'm assuming that means it's still on. Guys, I don't know. Oh
Yeah,
my
it says
gosh.
it's on.
I'm terrible at this. Oh, Kevin wants to speak. Okay, Kevin, I'm not sure how to get you to speak, so we're just working out the
Bear with us,
logistics
Kevin.
of this.
We're here for you.
We absolutely are. My goodness me. Any ideas, Chris?
That's great. So is that little down?
How about if we turn it this way around?
No.
Oh. What does this do?
You know what? I feel like we're trapped in an everlasting cycle here about space, as you're saying. Kevin, I fear we may not be able to hear your sweet voice.
Let's have a look, see if we can...
Yes, as Goddess was saying, we're doing this a little bit on the back foot because we tried doing this on YouTube on 2 different channels. We tried doing this on Instagram, and slightly clutching at straws, one might say. We turned to Twitter Spaces, but we have a camera recording us in the corner, so hopefully you guys can see us at a later date.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's carry on.
Yeah. So you're back in Idris Elba for James Bond.
Guys, just a thought. Why don't you guys send me a DM if you've got a question? I'm going to open my DMs now. I'd really appreciate it if you can let me know that you can hear me, and then, send me a DM that way, and I can answer your questions that way. That's no problem. Sorry, Idris Elba. That's where we were. Yeah, I love him as Shere Khan in The Jungle Book. He has this timbre to his voice, which is just like a vibration in your womb. So I hope it's him. He's pretty hot too.
Yeah, he does have an awesome voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so a bit of a basic question, but can you define what a dominatrix is?
Well, I don't think that a dominatrix can be defined in today's society or pigeonholed in any sort of way, because it's so varied from one person to another. I can define what my view of my aspirations are as a dominatrix. Mm-hmm. The first thing that is really important to me is kind of inspiring others. Mm-hmm. Either my submissives or other ladies or men that want to be dominant and they want to be in control. I tend not to be overly judgmental because you can't be, because it's so subjective. There are some people that are financial dominatrices, which is something that I think is out of my reach, mm-hmm. and not within the sphere of kind of what is comfortable for me. And yet I have a lot of respect for it, and I think it's definitely domination. There are people that are kind of amateur tops, there are people that are rope tops, mm-hmm. There are people that just do sort of one specific thing. Medical fetish can sometimes be people's specialism. Is it being a dominatrix? Well, sometimes I think yes, and sometimes I think it's more about being a caregiver. Yeah. I'm quite a classic standard dominatrix in that I'm a sadist. I do enjoy hurting people. I also enjoy putting people into predicaments. I enjoy so many things depending on my mood.
Can you chat me up a bit about hurting people? When did you discover that was something you took pleasure from?
It's a double-edged sword, because I believe that I possess pure empathy, which means that I was doing a scene the other day with a fabulous lady called Kiki, who I've recently been introduced to by Mika Kitten, thank you so much. And she took a really heavy whipping for me. And then after I'd taken her down and was sat cuddling her, I ended up crying myself. And it was a mixture of happy and sad tears. But I think I've always been more interested in making people happy. Mm-hmm. And what I learned as I've got older is that some people require pain to be happy. Mm-hmm. My house slave certainly does. Slave John certainly does. I can name quite a few people whereby pain, only pain, mm-hmm. Nothing else in the session that surrounds it, although they're enjoyed as well,
Yeah.
is necessary. And that makes me happy because in a strange way it makes me feel like I'm giving them something that they want. So maybe I'm servicing them as opposed to dominating them. But with regard to the pain, I was very young when I started watching, Braveheart and The Robe and Spartacus, and I would feel something inside me when I saw someone be hurt. I wanted to do that. I wanted to feel what that felt like, to have them like a piece of putty in my hand.
And do you remember the first time you experienced doing that yourself?
I remember the first time I did something a little bit sadistic. I was either 18 or 19, and I used to go and visit a gentleman in Nottingham, and he taught me to put heels down his Jap's eye.
Wow.
And put pegs on his cock and
Wow.
things like that. And at the time, I hadn't really experienced anything like that before. And I just remember at first thinking, this is so weird. But at exactly the same moment, I was like, this is really exciting. Why does he like that?
Yeah.
How does he like that? What does it feel like?
Yeah.
And there are a few whippings that I will never forget, which,
Yeah.
most of which have been documented, I think.
Was there any point in that initial experience with the guy who wanted the stuff down his Jap side? Was there any point where you were like, you know what, I'm not sure I can do this?
Oh, I've muted my mic. Oh no, guys, we've been having this amazing conversation and I think I muted my mic. Oh no.
Oh goodness.
Am I back? Oh, we were having such an interesting conversation as well. Well, it's okay because we have set the film up.
Yeah, we have.
So you'll get to hear it all back.
Yeah.
And you'll get to watch it all back too, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like to remind you that no one, even goddesses, are perfect.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah. Kiki sent in a question.
Oh.
Kiki has asked if, firstly, what my favourite colour is. And my favourite colour is green, emerald green. For many reasons. I used to be a weed smoker for a long time. I've had a couple of green cars. My eyes are green. It reminds me of serpents. And it reminds me of an algae-riddled river that I want to jump into and become like a wild, feral animal. What's your favourite colour?
My favourite colour is red.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
Why?
my C name is literally my name and my favourite colour. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just kind of drawn to it. It feels quite passionate, quite exciting.
And the second thing is, and we're going to ask this question to you first, Chris.
Okay.
What is your ultimate fantasy?
Oh, jeez. God. So that is a great question. I'm going to push back a little bit on it though, because I don't know how experienced the person asking this question is, but you end up, like, I've been doing this 20 years, and I've done a lot of stuff which is like really hit the mark, and what you find is that mark changes.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that.
And that's not taking away from anything I've done or anything like that, but you can find that, oh my god, like what you're into, in some ways can become softer. So I used to play with people who, so I became fascinated. Like, again, it's probably a dark topic. It's probably going to get kicked off another space.
You go there.
But when I was at university, I realised I knew jack shit about women.
Okay.
Like, probably still don't. Let's be real.
No, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true.
And but I was on a course with lots and lots of women, and they were very open about discussing like their sexual fantasies, about things that happened to them sexually, and in this environment, I was like very curious. I was asking a ton of questions to the point where I'd just sit in the corner of a cafe, and anyone who wanted to come and talk to me about their previous experiences, about like their sex life, they would come talk to me, and I'd write it all up and write reports on it, anonymous ones, obviously. But one thing that really surprised me was how often people talked about having rape fantasies.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this just the area I live or something, that all these women are coming up and saying they fantasise about being raped? And I looked into it, and it turns out, lo and behold, probably not a surprise to you, but it is one of the most common fantasies.
wherever you are in the country, because you've seen a lot of the country and Europe and further afield now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a period on the scene where like my ultimate thing was I wanted to be a rapist. I wanted to
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
recreate that as a scene for people consensually. I just like to point that out.
Can you consensually rape someone? I think that's probably a topic for another time.
Yeah, I think you can play at it being, I guess you call it consensual non-consent. So
Yeah.
the people on the receiving end wanted to put up a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
And we obviously needed to have a backup safe word just in case I wasn't getting a message that that wasn't something they wanted. But yeah, that came up quite a lot for me at a certain point.
So is that still your ultimate fantasy?
No. I had a period where I did a lot of it, and I think that's what I'm saying is that you can do that for a long period of time and be like, yeah, you know, I think I've scratched that itch. I've marked off that curiosity. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'd never do it again because I still find it really interesting. But yeah, your brain then I think moves on to something else.
It's interesting you mentioned consensual non-consent, CNC, because that's also something that has featured quite heavily in my real-time sessions, in my dreams, in my fantasies, in my deepest, darkest desires. And I think actually a lot of people listening probably know that about me. My ultimate fantasy, Kiki, is very similar to what you and I did the other day, actually. It was a beautiful, carnal power exchange where Kiki experienced excessive pain for a prolonged period of time, verbal degradation, humiliation. She was crying, and there's something about a lady in tears for me that does very, very powerful things to me. Yeah. And there were moments of intense connection and softness and almost falling in love between us, at the same time as there being this wolf and this kind of demonic darkness inside of me that found it very, very difficult to stay in its box. Wow. And there were moments where everything in my body became electric and I had to be very careful about not going too far, and I think we teetered very much on the edge throughout of Oblivion. It was pretty intense. I'll have to show you the video.
Yeah, you seemed like you were buzzing after that when I spoke to you.
It was incredible. And like you, my ultimate fantasies change all the time. So it depends on. I love aesthetic. I love extreme bondage and crucifixion and seeing something and for it to be astoundingly beautiful. Less so to everybody else, to me nowadays. And because I've done so much bondage, and particularly leather bondage, because I've done quite a lot of filming over the years, and I've been to some amazing places and filmed with some incredible people, brave, beautiful, creative, it means that I'm in a unique position to be quite selective about what really impresses me nowadays. But I'm being completely honest here when I say that almost on a day-to-day, if not on a week-to-week basis at the moment, I find myself on multiple occasions to be absolutely floored by the opportunities that I have and by the experiences, and I have to pinch myself all the time. I mean, today I was with Nikki Whiplash at Whiplash Towers. We had a slave.
I love how hyped you are about your day today.
It was absolutely amazing. We put slave BBB in a wheeling fetters, very tight cage with a very tight sort of throat compression element to it. Gosh. And we egged him in a square next to some cells. We humiliated him. We egged him, we fed him raw eggs, we cracked eggs on his sternum and on his head and laughed, and I mean that was just one of the scenes. I won't even tell you all the others because I'm gonna leave those to the amazing Mistress Nikki Whiplash to share with you. But wow, my God, fuck me, my life is everything that I've ever wanted.
Do you find that the longer you do this, the easier it is to just go, you know what, I really fancy doing that, I'm just going to make it happen. Because if I had to make an observation, people who are maybe newer to getting into kink or on the periphery tend to spend a lot of time thinking about it, so they have more chance to build it up in their head before they experience it. Whereas I think people who are doing it on the regular tend to be like, you know what, I need this thing.
Yeah.
And you've said that to me before, like if you want to get tied up, you'll just ask me. And
yeah. And we make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that can be. I think that takes confidence. I think
it takes confidence. It takes experience. But can I just say that when I started at 18, I was your typical 18-year-old. I didn't have any body confidence. I didn't feel good in my own skin. I had very bad skin, incidentally. I was probably a little bit too thin, but I thought I was overweight. I was a really bad gambler. I was a drug abuser. I didn't start, like, you know, I'm really confident and I know where I am and I know what I'm about. I've made every mistake in the book. I've been kicked out of so many hotels. I've been kicked out of so many homes that I've tried to set up dungeons in. I will not stop. I will be relentless until I get what I want. And that's what I advise everybody who's listening to do, is to keep pushing and keep doing it, because you're going to get confident. You're going to get better at this. You know, all the ladies that work here at Celestial, I tell them exactly the same thing. We're starting to get male kinksters in as well, aside from yourself, who are kind of not experienced, but are really keen. You know what? They're going to get knocked back. It's going to be hard initially to get sessions. It's going to be hard initially to get the right people to film with, to get the right exposure. Keep fucking pushing, because you will get there.
Yeah. So you had a day here. It was last week, wasn't it? You had the shooting day here. So these absolutely beautiful professional dominatrices, and I think there's some people who worked as escorts and some people who worked just as models. And I was in the room just over there for most of it, like just doing some shooting. And I'd have people come in, shoot for a few minutes, they go off and do something else. And I pretty much had the same conversation with everyone who came in that room, which is that I don't feel like I'm good enough to do this. I don't feel like I'm attractive enough to do this. I don't feel like my body's good enough to do this. And that's kind of, that's sad, isn't it? That's
Absolutely.
upsetting.
I think it's disgusting, and I think it's the reality of filters and of this insinuation that people have to be a certain way and a certain size and a certain look, and actually no, because life would be so dull. But also there is a lack of character. And I mean, I've never liked my nose, and it's common knowledge. I've always wanted a nose job, blah blah blah. But actually, you know, there's been a few films that I've watched recently, and I think actually it adds character to me. It makes me look a little bit more cruel and devious and real. And you know what? I've had the money 10 times over to be able to have a nose job, but I haven't done. And I've chosen to do other hedonistic things with it instead. And actually, you know, the older I get, the more confident I get in my own skin. Yeah. You know what, there's things about my body I don't like, there's things about you, you know, that you don't like. Yeah. And every single person on this planet, even some of the, you know, some of these, I mean, I'm not going to mention any names, but I have some friends that are like 150,000 plus followers on Instagram and all the rest of it. They have mornings where they wake up and really don't like themselves. Yeah. You know, and they train very hard, they eat very well, and it's still... It's a problem. It's a disease of society.
So how do you, because you're always having your photo taken, even if it's just you taking photos of yourself for like promotion or like you're always doing videos, how do you deal with that? Because you can't really, can you decide that you just don't want to do it today?
No, not really. I used to when I was a little bit younger and a little bit less confident and hard-working than I am now, and together. If I wasn't feeling it, I wouldn't do it. Yeah. I'm not that person anymore. I'm a bit of a workaholic, and I really love every challenge that's put in front of me, and I strive to exceed expectations on every front, which is tiring. But my God, the excitement and the level of satisfaction that I feel from that far outweighs the fact that, you know, I felt a bit shit this morning, so I decided I'm not going to do it. I spend the rest of my day really disliking myself for that. Not just for the fact that I've let people down that I really care about, but also for the fact that I've been weak and I've been pathetic.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that there's a lot of, we could talk about mental health all day, and actually I don't want to go there if that's okay today, because I think it's a topic that's talked about quite a lot. But I'm very old-fashioned and I'm very old school, and I'm sure this is going to upset a lot of people. But I think that, we all struggle in our own different ways, but you always have a choice of whether you get out of bed and whether you do the thing that you said you were going to do or whether you don't. And I've proved that to myself over the past 3, 4, 5 months, because there hasn't been any sort of instance where I felt like I'm going to let this beat me, or I'm going to let my tiredness beat me, or I'm going to let the way that I look in the mirror beat me. I'm doing it, and I that's it.
Yeah.
And after you've done it, you feel fucking great. I bet you're the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, similar to you, I guess, is that I'm not going to go into it, but definitely had negative mental health experiences. And I think in some ways having some structure of, you go there, you're going to do this thing. You may not feel amazing about it, but you'll almost definitely feel worse if you don't.
Yeah.
And obviously we're making a huge generalisation here, but I think if something is consistently making you unhappy, then you should change that. But if you're feeling like you could go either way, I'd say do it.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually the person that you're with, you vibe off them, and you kind of alleviate that negativity together, and you walk away and you just feel amazing about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whilst we're talking about that, actually, I have to shout out to my amazing, the queens of my life. So I have Susanna, who, for those of you who don't know, guys, Susanna was supposed to give birth yesterday. She is our studio manager and executive bookings manager here at the studio. Not only does she manage my own bookings, she manages all of the ladies that work here's bookings. She does all the studio hire management. She does all of our emails. Wow. I said to her, right, okay, when are you giving me the phone back? She said, I'm taking the phone to hospital with me. I said, you are? This lady is just unlike anything you've ever experienced in your life. She is a force. She is so formidable. She is incredible, and she's changed my life. In the past year or 18 months, if I'm going to try and pussy out something, she will not have that. Yeah. And she has really transformed my life into being one where it's not even an option to not do something, because it's in the diary. It's in the diary, so it's happening. You've had 2 hours sleep. No, you go do it. You take some fucking caffeine and you bloody do it. And I must have rang her 100 times and thanked her and said, thank you so much for pushing me. I'm old school. I think that a good push from a dominatrix is exactly what most people need. And let me tell you, Susanna is a dominatrix in disguise. Yeah. Secondarily, but equal in stature. Absolutely equal in stature. I also have to shout out to Ella. Ella is our... She's been my executive assistant for a longer period of time than Susanna, and she is a whiz on the computer. All things Telegram, all things any sort of... can I just say, the Celestial Studios website, which is unbelievably good now, and it just gets better and better and better. She's done all that herself. She's just astounding. She's my right-hand woman. If I need anything, she's there. If Susanna needs anything, she's there. There's been so much going on behind the scenes of parties with both the ladies. Like, if I didn't have either of them, we are the triad. And if any point of this triangle weren't there, potentially we could crumble. So I can't really take a lot of the credit, because it falls with these 2 ladies. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, I think you're a great example of collaboration, and how when you have people with different strengths working together, you can achieve really good things. Yeah,
absolutely. And you are somebody I love very much, and you know that.
Oh, thank you very much. Speaking of me, I had a question about you sent to me the other day.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I would like your take on it. So I was asked, how do I approach topping people like you who have a large persona as a dominant? do I have to do something different? Is it a worry of mine? And I guess I'd put the same back to you. You must have taught people who have like quite a dominant persona. How do you approach that?
Whoever sent you that question, wow.
Yeah.
What an amazing thing to ask.
Mm.
Wow, okay, well, you're going to have some big fucking balls for a start to approach somebody like me or another quite prolific dominant character, because we are a little bit terrifying in some regards. We're also very personable and sometimes quite vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And we are almost desperate for somebody to be able to put us in our place because there's a small percentage of people who are brave enough and or capable enough to do it. Yes, I have met people who need dominating but are almost more dominant than me and more confident than me. Initially it's a little bit concerning, and you have to assert yourself immediately in an intelligent fashion, not in a two-dimensional I'm going to shout at you and I'm going to hurt you fashion. You've also got to be understanding of the fact that usually people that are more dominant are control freaks. It's going to take them a lot longer to relax in your company. It's going to take them a lot more to relinquish control. They're going to be in their own head for a lot longer. But you're going to have to do it piece by piece. But let me tell you, that nectar is so very sweet when you, when you finally get to crack it.
By the way, if you just jumped on Spaces, we're doing a Q&A with Goddess Vivienne the more. If you drop a question into Vivienne's inbox, then we will do our best to get around to it and answer it.
I've just had a question from the G. Would I ever tour Belfast?
Yeah.
Interesting question. I'm not entirely sure. I tend to be a bit of a home bird. I love Scotland. I think possibly I would, although I'm quite ignorant on current affairs. But I'm not entirely sure how BDSM and fetish work is seen over there and whether it's accepted or not.
From what I'm aware, it's slightly more cracked down upon to have like play parties and things like that. But as far as like doing things privately, I think that's the main outlet for it, as far as I'm aware.
I believe that there's a couple of quite prolific pro-doms with quite cool studios over there, so if I liaised with one of those guys, then yes, I might consider it. So thank you very much for your question, the G. If anybody else has got any questions, do drop me a line in my Twitter DMs and I will.
Do you like touring?
Do you know, when I was younger, I went to Germany, I went to Romania, I went all over Europe, I went all around America, doing lots of filming, and I was young and I was crazy and I didn't think about the consequences. But now I have so many responsibilities that I would really like to, and yes, I do enjoy it. It's really exciting and you meet some amazing people. But I have 3 dogs that I would feel very guilty about for leaving for a prolonged period of time, especially my German Shepherd. He is my boy. Yeah. I don't know, there's something about Scotland that's very magical for me. So it kind of draws me there. But I'm not really much of a city person. Yeah. So the idea of staying in a city would make me quite anxious, unless it's Edinburgh, because you're 10 minutes out of Edinburgh, you're in the countryside. But depends where it is. What about you?
So pre-lockdown, because I'm a rope teacher, I used to go around a lot of different places teaching. Yeah. And it's great. Like, it's really fun. I love meeting new people. I also love seeing, like, because we all theoretically do the same thing. So, like, even if it's like just rope bondage, we all theoretically just tie people up. But seeing the different ways that people approach it in different parts of the country and other countries as well is fascinating to me.
Where's your most favourite place that you've ever been to either do a performance or to do a class or something like that?
Athens.
Wow, interesting. And why is that?
Because they have absolutely unbridled enthusiasm for it. And in England, like people would clap and would cheer and stuff like that. When I finished performing in Athens, like people literally came up to us on the stage and were like, "Yeah!" Like there was so much excitement. And
I bet that was such a buzz.
Yeah, and people couldn't wait to get us a drink, and like it was really incredible, and we felt so welcome. And I've been to other parts of, and I think I'd just come from other parts of Europe where they were a lot more like serious based about about their kink. And so when you do performance, it was like you get like a thank you, that's very respectful. So, which is it's just nice, you know, it's good, but like there's a complete difference to being like swarming people and being taken out for dinner and people being that enthusiastic about seeing what you do. I think because I'm British, I still hold a little bit back.
Yeah, of course.
Seeing people go that bananas for a rope performance is quite impressive.
Yeah, and you deserve that kind of bananas. I mean, when you perform here, everyone loves it, and you have met a lot of people here because they've seen you performing, and then it awakens something in them where they have to come and have a private lesson with you, or they have to come and, I mean, you've awakened something in me, you know, with our dynamic and our friendship and our relationship together, because prior to meeting you, I had a series of experiences with lots of people from England and Europe, with riggers who weren't quite approachable. And I would just say to anyone who wants to learn rope, Chris is, well, I call him Big Daddy, and I use that term for one person, and that's you. And it's because you deserve it. And what you create is so amazing. You have this whole community. Chris dedicates so much of his time to doing the rope social and you do all kinds of things. You do Ascension. I mean, you need to check out his links, guys. If you go on to, do you have a link tree?
I do, yes.
Yeah, so if you go on to Bondage Tuition on the Twitter page, you'll find the link tree and all the amazing people that Chris works with, but also, I mean, you've done so much and you do so much for the community, and we all love you for it. And yeah, I don't think you charge enough. But
thank you, that's very sweet.
Okay, then back to the questions then.
Yeah, do you find it hard having like walking that line between, because obviously now you've got the studio, you've had the studio for years, but like it's really hit its stride now in terms of parties and being booked absolutely loads. Like whenever you walk in here, there's always just loads of bookings and stuff like that. Do you find it hard walking that line between being almost like the face of kink to some people, because you probably are now plenty of people's first experience of this, and asserting yourself in a dominant role and feeling like you have to keep a persona? Is that a hard thing to balance?
Yeah, I think so. Because it's so subjective, it's difficult sometimes to be everything for everyone. So I tend to just be myself more and more now, and my guard does drop, and I am just laid bare as what I am, which I realise that Vivienne Lamour is not an act, and it's not a facade. It's who I am, and it's the part of me that is dominant in me. And sometimes I feel like maybe I'm a sociopath because I have to pretend in my vanilla guise to be, you know, to conform to society, when actually really I feel like I should be the fucking Prime Minister and I should be making the damn decisions. So Chris, we've been sent in some questions.
Yeah,
so let's have a look at those. There are quite a few from
okay.
Yeah, there are quite a few from a couple of guys. We're gonna have to keep them anonymous.
Yeah.
But if you want to pick...
Yeah, so here's a good one. How did you come up with such a classy and sophisticated sounding name? So just to remind people, your full title is...
Goddess Vivienne Lamour.
Okay.
Yeah.
You went hard. Is that your first Dom name? Have you changed it since?
When I first started when I was 18, I was called Phoebe.
Really?
For a few months, and then I worked with an escort agency in Nottingham, and the lady said to me, "Oh, you really remind me of the lady out of Pretty Woman. What's her name?" I said, "Her name's Vivienne." And she was like, "That should be your name."
Wow.
So that's where Vivienne came from, and Lamour is love, and actually that's what I try and emanate, even if it's through cruelty or whatever it is. I try and show a lot of love, and I think that's why I've had a lot of love, which is why I have been able to reach so many people, and why I have so many amazing people in my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you speak any other languages?
Not fluently, no. I speak a little bit of French. I speak a little bit of Spanish. I think I'm strongest in German. When I go to Germany, I haven't been in some years now, but I used to go quite regularly I had a business partner, kinkymistresses.com, who is still a good friend of mine and a fabulous producer. But we used to go and film in various dungeons throughout Germany, and I found that after I'd been there for a while, it would be quite easy for me to kind of make do. I would say my grammar was far from perfect, but I was trained as an opera singer when I was younger. I did all of my grades. I got to grade 8 ABRSM, and so I had to learn certain languages, a bit of Italian, a bit of Spanish, a bit of French, and the enunciation and pronunciation and diction. So maybe that's why I kind of have these different timbres and different chameleon sides, even within Vivienne Lemoore. Yeah.
What do you see yourself doing in 10 years?
I want to be like the ladies that inspire me. I want to be like Nikki Whiplash and Mistress Sidonia. Mistress Sidonia is...
Describe that noise and what it contains.
I mean, there are tears in my eyes, which is kind of, I feel so powerful about. She's kind of like my femdom mummy, and it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with achievement and accomplishment and respect, and her whole aura is based around kindness and thoughtfulness, and everything she does is for others. Everything. And with that, she has this incredible empire of people who would literally cut off their fingers for her. And the reason is because she is the real deal. She's everything they've ever wanted. She's so articulate. She's so creative. She's so beautiful. She's so funny. She's just amazing. To be inside her brain for a week is something I would pay an awful lot of money for. Nikki Whiplash is similarly at the pinnacle of femdom. She's slightly different to me and Mistress Sidonia in that she has a far superior collection of shoes, but it goes much further than that. She's I don't know. She has this kind of. I was talking about this earlier, and I don't know whether I'm speaking out of turn here, but sometimes I feel like with me and Sidonia, it's very much about the aesthetic of the bondage or of the Frankenstein's monster that we're creating.
Yeah.
With Nikki Whiplash, everything about her is such that it's so overwhelmingly stunning, and without even needing to lift a finger. Not that me and Miss Sidonia aren't, but there's just this whole other level of like the aesthetic of her place, the aesthetic of herself. It means that the slave kind of, it doesn't really matter what the slave is doing, because he could be Brad Pitt and you wouldn't even really take any notice, because she's just got this, I don't know. Whew, she's just so funny, and just, and her brain, her and Sidonia, their brains, with the egging today and the other scenes that she planned in her mind, just bowled me over. And I was like, wow, you are totally unique. So that's what I want to be in 10 years.
Yeah, you want to be Nikki Whiplash or Mistress Sidonia.
Absolutely, that's what I want to be.
Good answer.
It's true.
Have you do you have any like people you've looked up to as femdoms who you've not met yet but would really like to?
Yeah, something about Dominatrix Iris is really fascinating. She's a dom that's based in, I believe, in LA. I think she's just started her own art curation service. Everything she does is art, elegance, class. Her bondage is exquisite too. I don't know, I find that we're very different. I'd be curious to see whether or not we would get along. Damazonia. Ooh wee! I stalk that lady a lot. I perv on that lady a lot. I love her vibe. I love her aura. I love the fact that she's Canadian. Yeah, I'd like to meet her. And we have been speaking about Goddess Damazonia coming to visit Celestial Studios on her next UK visit. So prepare yourselves. Yeah, there are so many that I can't really name. But let's just go with those two as the top two.
Yeah, not to lower the tone, and please don't. You don't have to obviously say who, but has there been anyone you looked up to and perhaps not been as enchanted by when you've met them?
I'm not sure there is.
Really?
I can't think of anyone off the. I'd like to think that I've got quite a good judge of character, generally speaking, with what I come to expect from people.
Yeah.
And I think that when I've had this feeling in my gut of someone's, they're really interesting, they're really fabulous, but there's also something I should be wary of with them. It tends to be true, but I tend to know early on.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there have been some people that have been what I expected, but possibly a little bit more cutthroat or a little bit. The dom side of them is a little bit too cruel, and it doesn't step off enough. Yeah. Because when I go home and I put my feet up, as many of my slaves will tell you, I'm always bossy. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not uppity.
No.
I do have humility, and I think when that's lacking for a prolonged period of time in a person, it becomes quite difficult to relate to them on a human-to-human level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. That's a good answer.
Okay. So MedPet, thank you very much for your question. Thank you for tuning in. Would you be making any medieval medical torture in the future? That's a very good question. MedPet is Mistress Eclipse's collared slave. He is also a very loyal and devoted helper at Celestial Studios under the permission and direction of Mistress Eclipse. Thank you so much, Mistress.
She's wonderful.
She is amazing. Yeah. We love Mistress Eclipse. She is a fireball.
Yeah.
She's so honest. She's really talented. She's really, really great at medical play as well. Extreme medical stuff.
Very kind lady as well.
She is.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful. We love her.
Yeah.
We love her. I think you already know what's in the pipeline, but I will talk about it. In the medieval torture square upstairs, I have designed from my housemate, Minnie Footslut, a medieval rack and a St Andrew's cross, which is parallel with the floor, and I want to do medieval medical treatments on there. The reality is that during medieval times, things wouldn't have been sterile, and although there is an excitement and a carnal fascination and yearning and moisture that happens in my panties when I think about that, we're going to have to be a bit careful with that MedPet and make sure that everything is obviously sterile, and we can try and create the aesthetic as much as possible. But in terms of like thumb screws, in terms of gelding, castration, cutting play, bloodletting, I think we definitely want to do that kind of thing. And at the parties, we're going a bit darker and a bit crueler and a bit more. We're doing a hook suspension in October. We're doing a gangbang in October as well with a particular lady. This next month we're venturing a little bit into necrophilia. If you check online, we'll kind of, that'll tell you a little bit more about that. We're going into CNC. We are hardcore BDSM at our heart, so that's where we're going. And part of that is definitely maybe not medieval, but maybe I'm not going to talk about any period in particular, but maybe historical medical play related to experiments, related to interrogation, related to. Yeah. I think you know where I'm going without me having to say it. So yeah. I hope that's answered your question, MedPet.
By the way, there's been a ton of questions online of like what inspired you to become a dominatrix, etc. I do think we covered that in quite a lot of detail when we did an interview recently.
I think
So if you want to check out the interview on the Behind Kink, we go into a ton of detail about that. Yeah, what would be your perfect birthday?
My perfect birthday. Ooh, I would be in Algonquin Park in Canada. I would be looking out on the lake. They don't have motorised boats on the lakes there, so the water is like glass. I would go for a swim, probably nude. I would like a large group of people around me. I don't deal very well with being on my own. I would like my loved ones, and my loved ones, it is a long list. And then I would like to go fishing. I want to try and catch a sturgeon in Canada. I want to see a wild moose. I want to do a bit of cycling. I want to do a bit of hiking. I want to lie there at 10 p.m. under the stars with a tarpaulin and be thoroughly spent.
Sounds great.
Yeah. That's what I'd like to do. Yeah.
So you've obviously spent a lot of time developing different parts of this building to represent different fantasies and help enact those.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're missing on that front? Is there anything you're like, you know what, I really wish I had this thing?
Yeah, I want an outdoor space that's suitable for use. A large outdoor space, possibly with a bit of a forest area. However, I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to mention this or not, but I'm going to because I'm very excited about it. Myself and Mistress Nikki Whiplash were talking today about the prospect of me hosting an event at Whiplash Towers, which would mean that I could help to create some outdoor fantasies that I have, and I'm sure that a lot of people have as well. And the other thing is I would really like to finish the padded cell. And the last thing is I would like a big tank. I would like a big fuck-off tank that is 15 foot wide by 20 foot long by at least 10 foot high, filled with lukewarm water and aerated so that it doesn't get... the logistics of this are quite the challenge. I want to do scuba play, I want to do dunking, I want to do mermaid stuff. I love underwater stuff. I'd love to have some jellyfish in there. You know, like... yeah. So yeah, that's definitely missing, whether I'll get it or not.
Yeah, that might take a bit of work.
Maybe on a smaller scale, maybe I'll just get a little small jellyfish tank and...
Yeah, that's fun, yeah.
Is there anything that you think that we should have at Celestial Studios?
One thing that I think you teased possibly having that I know some friends of mine would love is like a padded cell. Because I think because I hang around with some mind play people, the whole thing of being incarcerated and being brainwashed and things like that, those kind of fantasies are like quite strong in people.
Myself included, I have backseat first shout in the padded cell upon completion. At the moment it's a little bit full of stuff because it's where to put stuff that we use for parties and that we use when we're filming. But when we have a space for that, that will be soon. It will be a padded cell where we can just use it for, anti-escalation, heavy rubber play, encasement, extended confinement, mind fuckery.
Yeah.
And a nice Chianti. Yeah. Interesting question. There's two questions here. Thank you so much, Bitch Boy. Bitch Boy wannabe. Would I come to Cornwall? Interesting question. I've been to Cornwall on holiday. There is not really the facilities for me to session there unless I brought a kit full of stuff. And I'm not quite sure how busy I would be there. So it would be a challenge for me to go there. I'd have to say no, probably.
But if you live in Cornwall, I'm jealous because Cornwall is beautiful.
Absolutely. I've been to Bude and it's stunning. But I'm just not sure whether there's the BDSM infrastructure for me to really thrive down there for any length of time unless I was coming on a holiday again, at which point maybe I'd consider it. And the second question, which is a good question, is would you ever be tickled at UK tickling again? So I've been tickled quite a few times. I got tickled by tickle videos in America. There was one custom video that I did. It was an hour-long tickling video.
Wow. An hour, that's a lot of time for a tickling.
It was an hour-long tickle video. I was like The Exorcist about 20 minutes in. I was writhing and screaming and crying. I bet if you contacted James Dark at Tickle Videos, you would probably be able to procure that video. I think it's probably the best Tickle video I've ever shot. I've also worked with FTKR, I believe. Yeah, he does some kind of... he does superhero tickling stuff. I've been the tickler and the ticklee. Sorry, I'm a long-winded way of answering. I'm not sure I would really. I mean, it's good for the fitness, good for the abs, certainly. It's difficult because everybody has an opinion about everything, and if I do anything that's considered to be submissive, then sometimes people think that it detracts from me being dominant. Do I like being tickled? No. Do I think that it's a good challenge? Yes. We'll leave that one. We'll leave that one in the air for now. But I'm sure you might be able to persuade me.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue. I mean, we're talking a bit about this earlier because we're talking about switching and challenges of switching when people have a public persona being dominant. But I think it's worth maybe delving into a bit as to why you bottoming doesn't take away from you as a top.
I think it's always enhanced my ability to empathise with other people. Because I've been caned, I've been whipped, I've experienced heavy breath play, I've been humiliated by some exceptional DOMs, consensually so. I've experienced all kinds of BDSM as a bottom, and it's meant that I can tap into someone's psyche and use my own past experiences to beautify the finer details of what I do. And also, a dominant person is dominant enough to take control of what they really want. And sometimes what I really want after a day of being completely in control is to have somebody that I trust, such as yourself, to actually make all the decisions, and where my mind can be empty, because it's always on overdrive. I'm always wondering if everybody else is okay, if this person's, experienced sufficient aftercare, if this person's worrying about something, if this person needs help with this. And it's really nice to actually check out from that, even if it's just for a short time, and kind of relax.
Yeah, I think I have similar feelings to you, maybe just with some tiny differences. So I think when you top someone or you dom someone, whatever you want to call it, whatever you do in life, you are fundamentally changing yourself by doing it.
Okay.
So the more you do something, the more you practice something, it is in some ways changing who you are. And I think a common misconception is that just because we go in one direction, it means that we block off another. And in your case, like, you're obviously incredible dom. You topped me, and I've really, really enjoyed it. We obviously switched. And you, having done this for so long and been so thoughtful about it, you've developed this incredible skill at it. And just because you might put that down and to do something else, it doesn't take away from the amount of time, the amount of concentration, and how much of a groove you built up within yourself to do that, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you are who you want to be, not what society tells you need to be. Not just in BDSM, but in everything, frankly. If you want something, go fucking get it, because no one's going to hand it to you. Yeah. And there's always going to be people who disagree. But they're not the people that you go home with at night. Yeah. As long as those people can see you for who you are, and understand that we're all multifaceted, then that's fine.
Yeah, and I think in some ways it's considered a shame that people see it as having the heroes torn down in a BDSM sense just because they switch, because as we know, like, a lot of what you do as a bottom, I think a lot of what we do as a bottom, we need to call out the fact that it's pretty hard. Like, when any bottoming situation, you're being incredibly brave and you're being incredibly open. Anyone listening to this, if you bottom, and it's also a skill. So it's a skill you work on and develop. Definitely. Because that ability to relax and go into and to just be able to go with something, that isn't something we're built with, I don't think. I completely agree. And I think that sometimes in the pro-dom community there is this light-hearted discussion that, the subs don't have to bloody do anything, but actually
we're all very aware and very grateful for the fact that I filmed with Rascal Rope last week, 2 days on the bounce, and on the second day he and I did a couple of really intense scenes involving some quite heavy humiliation and degradation, culminating in him being suspended from that piece of bamboo there actually, in rope and leather, and then having 2 fucking machines, one at each end, whilst I was kind of, relentlessly kind of treating him like he was a mindless drone and putting these thoughts in his head over and over and over again. So he was experiencing the duress of the bondage, the duress of the fucking machines, the duress of my domineering, overbearing personality and actual physical force. And he sustained that for some time. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible. Even just to say to somebody, do you know what? I want you to do this to me, please. That takes courage and bravery, and is such a beautiful thing that any decent dom really values and will demonstrate that value in one fashion or another, and will take that into her little, kind of her little, the pocket in your heart, and just keep that there for a rainy day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure you do with your scenes. Some of the scenes that you do are really quite intense. For people who haven't really done much rope in the past, speaking from experience, you don't quite realise how you're going to react to it until it actually happens. I've had scenes with you where I've almost passed out, and some where I've gone into this entirely different space, and you're kind of like, you need to come out of the rope now, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to. Like, no, really, you should, And I think, some of the people that you work with are so incredible and talented at what they do, and it can be a bit intimidating for newbies to come in and think, oh my God, am I expected to do that to start with?
Yeah.
But they're not, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The thing is that some of these people have spent an awful lot of time building up the strength and the experience to know exactly how that feels.
Yeah.
And again, it's also not just a physical thing. It can be like, if you guys want to look it up, like if you look at pain processing techniques in BDSM, a lot of the time it's learning how do you take all of this force going through your body and process it in a way which isn't just, I want out of this is too much, and panic. Yeah. And that's not easy, because if you look at some of the suspensions, again, if you want to be impressed by some rope, look at the pictures that Vivienne and I did with Suffering for Art. There's a picture where Vivienne is in a hog tie, and your legs are being stretched up towards your back. It's a very, very tight rope. Because it took like a good few minutes to get into that, like I do tie quickly, but it still takes a good few minutes to get into it and a good few minutes to get out of it if we don't cut the rope. You know that it's going to take you a little while to get out of that, and that is restricting your breathing, it's holding you up in the air, it's pushing your hips open, it's pushing your back towards your head. Like, that isn't something that many people can just get into straight away. It takes that time to develop those pain processing techniques to be able to do that, and I think that's highly underrated on the scene.
I think so too, and it's also, it has to be respected that each person is so different. I predominantly tie men, so I have kind of different integers to work with. Yeah. Whereas you tie ladies and men of all different shapes and sizes, all different walks of life, and I think it's about really working out what somebody wants and what somebody can take, but you always have to be versatile and dynamic enough to think, okay, that's not worked, right, what we're doing now.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, and I think a skill at the top is being able to go, okay, one thing went wrong, that's not the end of a session. That just means that we're going to roll on to this next thing. And that means, it means that ditching your ego a little bit. Yeah. Because you can have this incredible idea in your head, you can, even spend a lot of time getting it all set up, and that person could be in it for 2 minutes and be like, no, goddess, I can't take this. And then you got to be able to bounce on to the next thing. Yeah, definitely, and not make them feel bad, because it's not their fault. It's not your fault. It's not. There is no negativity. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be any sort of blame. Yeah, absolutely. It's just subjectivity, and that's the beauty of discovering one person and another person, and it's the challenge that we enjoy, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think if people who are newer to BDSM and maybe don't get it might say, well, why don't you just tell them they have to take it? Or you're the dom, you're in charge, just make them do it anyway. And I would say there's a huge difference between between the level of pain that someone can go through for you and your entire body saying, no, I can't do that. And sometimes people's entire body screams, no, they can't do that, and that is completely fine.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Have we had any more questions on Twitter?
We haven't had any more questions on Twitter. No. I think maybe we have time for one more question.
Yeah, let's see if there's any caucus going on here. I really should have arranged these into an A, B, and C list. Okay, yeah, I feel like you've talked, like, really good question. What's the biggest misconception people have about dominatrices? I feel like we talked about that quite a lot.
Yeah.
In different ways. Was there anything we missed on that front?
No, I don't think so. I think there are better questions in here, actually. Just if you go up a little bit, please. We have a really quite a long list, actually. There were a few here that were quite funny. From Han Solo, actually.
Like, if you could travel back in time, where would you go?
This is do you know, these questions are very specific to me, actually. I kind of do want to answer a couple of them, actually.
Okay.
I want to answer this one here, which is if you could travel back in time, a la Doctor Who or Outlander, where would you go? The answer is Nazi Germany.
Oh wow.
In fact, that's not the first person to ask that question. One of my female friends asked that question, and we both came up with the same answer. I think she went back to Kristallnacht, and I went to sort of 1944 Auschwitz, interestingly enough. And there was another question that I really want to answer.
Okay, but the follow-up question to that has to be why.
Okay. I spent a lot of time in a library when I was younger, and I used to go and visit regularly the Beth Shalom Centre in Newark to listen to survivors speak on a Sunday afternoon, Holocaust survivors. It's something that I can't comprehend. It's completely incomprehensible for me, and that's why I find it so fascinating. I'm sure many people involved in BDSM share that fascination. Yeah. There was a book with 6 million dots in it, and the title was Do You Understand?
Wow. My goodness.
I just can't quite understand. And I think that's what it's like, the universe. Why are some people fascinated by the universe? Because you just can't get your head around it.
Yeah.
We're not meant to. And I could talk for hours and hours and hours about why I would go back to Nazi Germany. But we don't need to go there, because I saw the word Wallace. Oh. For any of you who don't know, Mel Gibson, I do call him my Mel. He is quite opinionated. He's upset a lot of people. I know he's quite controversial, but so am I. And we're meant to be together. One day we will be. However, the question is...
I mean, I think you have awful taste in men, but that's okay.
What can I say? I mean, this started when I was about 6 years old. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I just can't. He's in The Patriot as well. I want to... Anyway.
Yeah, Braveheart has a lot to answer for.
Yeah. But the question is, in short...
Yeah.
Wallace... not quite sure if this is dependent on whether you fancy Mel Gibson, but say Wallace was played by a 6-foot Scotsman, would you rather play the part of Braveheart's Muireann or Outlander's Claire? Well, Claire stays alive much longer. Have you seen both of these?
I saw Braveheart when I was quite young.
Okay.
Outlander, I will catch up on that at some point, I'm sure.
You need to watch it. It's absolutely amazing. This lady goes back in time from the 1940s. She's just come back from World War II, I believe, to the 17th century, to the kind of early 1600s, when the Scottish Wars of Independence were happening. She meets Jamie, who... it's very homoerotic, the first series, actually. But there's season 1, episode 7, where he is whipped. I think we spoke about it in the documentary.
Yeah.
And there are so many other things that happen. I'd rather be Claire. She's fascinating. She's intelligent. She becomes a doctor. She helps people, but she's also fierce. And I think Muireann is very sweet, but she's destined for doom, and I am destined for great things.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to pick one final question.
Okay.
And I want to ask it to you, Chris, because, I mean, Christ, I talk about myself rather a lot. So.
Well, it is a Q&A for you, so I feel like that is forgivable.
Okay.
I don't think you generally talk about yourself a lot.
Don't you?
I think you're a very curious person who wants to know about others in general.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I'm not entirely sure whether it's true, but I appreciate you saying it. Okay. It's a pretty generic question.
Okay.
But I actually like it, and it's the dinner party question. So you can invite anybody from the past or present, from any era, alive or dead. But this one gives you the option of 4 guests. I'm only going to give you 3 guests. Who are your top 3 people that you would have dinner with?
Oh man, you know, like, this is the thing about me with questions like this, I have to take it way too seriously. So I'd love to be able to be like, you know what, I'm going to invite John, please, and all that sort of stuff. But in reality, you know what, I want my gran. And I want to see my granddad. And yeah, that's what I want. So I'm filling out that table with deceased grandparents. Yeah.
Oh, Chris. Well, that must mean that they were excessively special and are excessively special to you, and you're very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, shout out to Chris.
Yeah, shout out to the grandparents.
They've done a good job with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine would be. I would really like to meet Joseph Mengele. And I would like to ask him lots of questions about what were the motivations for why he did what he did. I want to know about his upbringing. I want to know why. I want to know why.
I have a sneaking suspicion that the answer might disappoint you.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Because the reason I say that is having kind of so I always seem to attract girlfriends who are obsessed with true crime.
Okay.
And just love hearing about murders and stuff like that. I don't quite understand it, but I find it vaguely interesting, but not to the same level that they do. Like, I know for a fact that one of my partners is probably getting off to sleep right now, like listening to a story about serial killers.
Okay.
And I'm always curious, like, you know, because some of these people were caught and some of them were interviewed, like, in quite a lot of detail. And obviously the question has always been, like, why? And the answers are sometimes really disappointing. And the answers are sometimes because I could. And it's because they think about the world that simplistically that they are able to do what they do. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean. I mean, but you know, there are a lot of people where I would argue the contrary. Really, you know, Eileen Warnos, and she's fascinating. That's why she said films are made about her and stuff, isn't there? And yeah, I think it's a common theme with BDSM and serial killers. There does seem to be a very distinct link between people who are interested in both of them.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, Joseph Mengele would interest me because of his medical experience, because of his, I want to know, because he was very intelligent. Was it indoctrination? Was it choice? Was it because he could?
Yeah.
You know, I want to know why. Secondarily, Christ. I'd really like to meet Queen Victoria, actually. I think she was an amazing lady. And I'd like to meet her when she was, before Albert died. I found her really inspiring. And I like Albert too. And my third person, who I would really like at a dinner party. There are a lot of people in my life, but I can have a dinner party with them because they're still alive. So I'm gonna use my because they're dead card. So, Christ. I mean, it's so cliche, but it's Queen Elizabeth I.
Wow.
The Virgin Queen.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess to have such strength, to be a woman. I mean, even in the suffragists again, I'd be fascinated by. But, in 1910, I think, Emily Davison threw herself under the king's horse to gain the vote or to help. That's 1910. It's just over 100 years ago. To be a woman of supreme power that long ago, and to deal with wars, and to deal with plotting men and danger at every corner, and to thrive, how she had to deal with Mary Queen of Scots. I mean, I have so many questions for her, and I mean, I hope it's going to be at least a 10-course meal.
Yeah. Yeah, great answer.
Yeah, well, I think we've talked for long enough, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we've put people through enough. No, that was a great chat, and if you've been looking forward to this, we're sorry that we had to move the location of this around for a bit. Next time, it will happen hopefully on YouTube, and hopefully it won't be that long away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking we're going to have to get started with this video podcast. So I'm going to look into that, and we can have a bit of a chat. I have a name for it and everything, which I'm not going to reveal yet. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being so absolutely amazing, putting up with us, bearing with us whilst we purge our souls.
Yeah.
We hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday evening, and we'll be posting the video soon.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Bye.